success with Global.Media.com. Let's celebrate it with or without champagne or rum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another show where we talk about some aspects of perimenopause and menopause. I am joined by my two co-hosts, as always, Ellie and Paulette, and today we have, I think, a very special treat. I've been following this lady for quite a while and getting the entertainment side of menopause and the lighter side of menopause. So I'm happy to introduce her to a new audience, to our LinkedIn family. We're here with Carol King. She goes by the name Auntie Carol on Instagram, and she'll give us her story in a bit. But if you are joining us live, let us know where you're joining from. Say hi, because we cannot see you unless you make a comment. Um, so let us know where you're joining from. Let me pass the mic to everyone to give a very short introduction before we get started. So, Auntie Carol, my favorite auntie on Instagram.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me on your show this evening. My name is Carol King. I am a 17-year perimenopause warrior, and I started creating content just to help women menopausal journey and not to suffer as much as I did through my journey. So that is what I am passionate about.
Great. Paulette, for the very few people who don't know you by now, please let them
I
know.
don't know if I like that.
You know we all love you and we're here for you.
I'm Paulette Hallam. Probably, as Lisa says, most people know me. But if we're out on TikTok or YouTube or all the other places, not so much, but just starting out that one. So yeah, Paulette Hallam. I'm an author of children's self-help books, into mental wellness, into mental health, and a fully qualified therapist and counsellor, but no longer practiced. So I'm tired, and I now work with Annie on LinkedIn, and I've just branched out into TikTok world.
I'm doing quite well, I might add. Any godfather of LinkedIn events, my friend. A quick intro. Please don't
Welcome. Quick. You know I'm not going to do it quickly, so you know I'm never going to do anything quick, right?
You have too many accolades. We don't have time for that.
Let me welcome Dr. Suba. How are you doing, Dr. Suba? Thanks for joining us. It's such an important conversation. Menopause is a transformation, not a decline. Open, informed dialogue like this helps women feel seen, supported, and empowered. There you go. You know, it makes it worth our while, Lisa. It makes it worth our while. Look, I'm a simple guy. My friends call me to help them to write the books, publish the books, and sell their books. I guess I'm one of the very few people around who can make you the #1 bestseller on Amazon, guaranteed. Look, if you got a book in your, everyone got a book in them, but if you got a book on your computer that you've written that you're doing nothing with, let's talk. If you haven't started writing your book yet, let's talk. I want to help you write that book. If you've got a book on Amazon or other bookstore that's not selling
Books.
Yeah, that's what I do, Carol. Books, Carol. Books and events go together. So that's a business that makes that work. So our good friend Alison's here as well. How you doing, Alison? It's been a long time, it feels like. See, you're not here. So is this Alison? I don't know. Alison, I'm sure it's Alison. Say hello, Lisa. So I'm glad you're here. Say our amazing friend Jackie's here as well. Carol, do you know Jackie?
No, I don't think so.
I can't believe Carol doesn't know anyone.
Remember, she's just rejoined LinkedIn, so she has to get to know everyone better, but she's in good company. Our LinkedIn community is very supportive. So
Truly, and Jackie is one you definitely have to meet. Apart from Paulette and Lisa, Jackie's the other one, right? I'm just saying. Council people.
Oh my God.
Who else do I see? Coach Carrie, how you doing? Haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah.
So I don't get informed about your shows, and I don't get notifications about your shows. So that's why I haven't been. And
Yeah.
hey, from the city, that could be seen in so many different ways. Let's leave that well alone, Coach Harry.
I think
You
she
know, we'll
means
come.
no. I don't think she means anything else. I mean, come on.
Anyway, I'll leave that alone.
Yes,
Lisa,
yes.
You're
you can
such a
tell us what you
child,
do.
Neo-sung. You're such a child.
Isn't that
I
what you
didn't
got
say
me
for
here?
our
Isn't that, I'm here
entertainment.
to have fun. I'm here to have a laugh, right? You
Yes, I
know,
was.
normally I'm myself. Over to you, Lisa. Tell us how you help, please.
Yes, thank you, Annie. My name is Lisa Favec. I'm a dietitian, coach, author for women's health issues. I specialize in perimenopause and menopause. And the reason we show up here every other Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, is to bring awareness to perimenopause and menopause, not just for women, but for the people who support us. So many times there are more men in the room while we're talking about it, and that always puts a smile on my face. That means we're reaching people, and people are curious, and they want to know more about their partners, their friends, and how to support them. And today is no different because Auntie has been doing exactly that on social media and been educating us in a fun and light way. So let me start by asking um, what made you join? Because you did mention that you're in perimenopause for 17 years. And I know the internet likes to talk about 5 years for perimenopause and, likes to give. I think it's because we don't have enough research that these things haven't been updated. But here we have a living,
Yeah.
breathing example of 17 years and still experiencing perimenopause. So why don't you let us know what drove you to even want to come on social media and talk about this? Because this is not something women usually want to talk about. It's very taboo in certain areas. Certainly in the Caribbean, it's very taboo still. So what drove you to want to do this and to continue to do this?
Honestly, it was a combination of two things. A, I have a big mouth, so there's that. And also, I was annoyed. I was annoyed because we are in an age where so much information is at our fingertips all of the time. But yet, so many of us are out here suffering daily just for the lack of information. And that was ridiculous to me. I'm like, how are we so uninformed about our own bodies like this? This is ridiculous. So I said to myself, well, if I can alleviate some of that suffering just by plonking my bum on a chair and sitting in front of a camera, I can do that. I was already a lover of social media anyway, so it wasn't. And as a former teacher, it wasn't difficult for me to get in front of an audience and speak, because if you can entertain a group of 18-year-olds for 4 hours at a time, you can talk in front of anybody, because that's the harshest audience you'll ever be in front of. And I realized I knew it wouldn't be difficult for me to do that. And as I said, the desire to share the information, the things I was learning as time goes by, is what drove me to social media, and it's what drives me still daily.
Yeah, and you were telling me that you came from a very creative family, so that also helped with what you're doing now.
It does. Yeah, my dad's side of the family in particular, they're dancers, they're singers, they're writers, they're painters, they're authors, they're really a very creative lot. They're filmmakers as well. So all of us have some sort of creative passion, most of us. If we're not doing it for a living, we're doing it for a hobby. So there is definitely that draws it out of me, because I'm not happy unless I'm creating something, even if it's havoc. I'd like to be creating something.
Also, I'm noticing an accent, of course, but I know you were born. Were you born in Barbados?
No, I was born in the UK.
Okay, okay.
My parents are from Barbados, and I was a 1969 summer baby. So from the time I was very small, I knew that I wouldn't spend my whole life living anywhere cold, or anywhere that has winter. So the moment my parents were ready to return to Barbados, they knew they weren't going to be able to leave me behind. They knew that. So I went with them. And so now I've lived half of my life in Barbados and half in England. First half in England and this half now in Barbados. I've been in both countries about the same amount of time now.
That's excellent. So I love that you take a light side to talking about menopause. And many of the times you're explaining the symptoms, but you're creating all these skits for us to really see what it's like for a woman to go through it. So you're not just talking about it, you're acting it out. So we can really see that visual. Why did you choose to do it that way? Because you talked about being an educator. So you could have come on TikTok and just talked about it, but what made you choose to go that route?
Well, actually, I mean, yes. Well, if you have nothing to do with your time and you go all the way back to the beginning of my TikTok, you will actually see me just sitting in front of the camera and talking. That's how I started. But there is another thing that I inherited from my father is a kind of a cheeky and wicked sense of humor, and I knew that just sitting and being serious all the time isn't actually my nature. So, but I was hesitant to bring in humor because it's such a painful experience for some women. And I didn't want to appear to be making light of it or making fun of it. And so I was a bit nervous about introducing humor, even though I wanted to. But one day I saw a gentleman doing a video on something completely different to menopause, but I knew that I could recreate the video and make it about menopause. And I sat with that video, I recorded it, edited it, sat with it for about 3 weeks, too afraid to post it. And one day I said, you know what, just post it. If you get the backlash, well, you just have to apologize and whatever. And of course, it was my first viral video. So I understood then that although the topic is heavy and it's hard, um, we do still want some light relief because there's plenty, there's enough people out here talking about menopause, and a lot of them are doing it in the same way. But I knew that, again, from my teaching, that if you want people to retain what you're saying, it's best to add some entertainment. So I like the edutainment aspect. I think we retain more if we can see something that we're not accustomed to seeing.
Yeah, and I'm seeing Paulette said nothing along. You want to add anything, Paulette?
Yeah, because Charles is a maths teacher, my husband. He was again teaching A-level maths, and he has, when he left, there were teachers that were kids writing cards to him saying thanks for the banter, BANTZ, you're wicked, and I looked forward to maths just because I knew you were going to take the pee out of me. Or I think the comments were hilarious, and I was like, is this allowed? And he'd be like, was never mean. I just used to say, they'd say like, what time is it, sir? And I'd go, duh, like that, and point to the clock, duh. And then a kid would go, sir, I can't do them ones. You get, sorry. No, I can only do the digital ones. And he'd be like, how many kids in a class can't tell the time? Like, this lesson would be how to tell the time using an analog clock. And he, he used to not take the mickey nastily, but in a humorous, like you said. And the humor sent the message home, right? So that in the exam halls, guess what? The clocks aren't digital. The clocks are the analog clocks. If you can't read that clock when you're sitting in the exam hall, you're stuffed. And that's basically what he told them. And, and they all were like, cheers, sir, thanks for that, because we wouldn't have known until we got in the exam hall. And like, he said he sometimes just shake your head and just whatever, but he would make them laugh. And I'd say, what's funny about Pythagoras' theorem? And he'd go, I'll find something. And me, I'm going to talk about pie today, and not the sort that you eat, guys, ha ha ha. He could do that in the same way that Carol was saying, by bringing humor into the classroom that way, he got so much more out of the kids, and the kids got so much more out of him. And I think the same with messaging. The reason that I write the books the way I do with humor, we talk about a skin insect that one day is a skin insect called Harold, and the next day is dead and is a stick. It's a very sad story about stick insect that's dead. But actually, the kids see that and they find that amusing. It's a book about bereavement, but that's the introduction to the book is about a dead stick insect. But the reason I did that was so that you start to think about death as not being like the worst thing. This is going to be the worst book in the world. It's going to be about death, and I hate it. And so I think what you said and messaging that Lisa, your messaging is so beautifully done, because you put your heart and soul into what you do, and everything comes almost like it's this is God's truth. She doesn't just write things, it goes into a beautiful presentation, it gets wrapped up, there's a bow on it. It really, the way that you present the information after the events is so beautifully done that people almost like take that and they put it in a file. And I bet you that all of your lessons are in files called Lisa Fevick Menopause, so that when they do have a problem, they'll go and have a look in the file where they filed it, because everything you do is so beautifully done. And that it's all merit to you for that. So well done, you. And that's
Thank
to
you so much.
Annie's
I
just,
really appreciate it. Well,
Annie's just
he's
Annie.
our and he's just
Annie is just wonderful. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And for me personally, I respond more to humor. My sense of humor is a little dark, a little sarcastic, so that's why I gravitate towards British humor so much. But and that's what I hope people get out of these shows. You may see us laughing about things, but we're not discounting people's pain. We're not saying that we don't understand that it's challenging. I talk about it there being over 100 symptoms you could experience along a menopausal journey. And many of my clients have 50, 60, 70 symptoms at one time. And they're struggling to get out of bed, they're struggling to make themselves a meal. So it could be really challenging, especially if you don't have that support. But the research is also showing us when we have a more positive mindset, when we make light of a situation, when we laugh about things, we actually experience those symptoms in a different way. I have had, I think there was a study where, I can't remember where it was done, but women were talking about hot flashes and they were experiencing it about an 8 out of 10. And when they started to look at things more positively and brought more joy and more gratitude to their lives, they started experiencing it around a 4 out of 10. Now, nothing changed. They didn't change their diet or anything like that, but the mind has a lot to do with it. There's a saying, where the mind goes, the body follows. So, what I hope people get out of these shows is not just the education part, but understanding that finding joy, and that's what I chose this month to talk about finding joy through different situations. Finding joy is what we should always focus on, because that will encourage a more positive mindset and our symptoms feel less, and then whatever treatments we're using can actually work better. So if we're on medication, if we're changing our diet, everything feels lighter once you have that joy aspect to it. And I was just about to pass it to Annie, and now he's off screen because I'm seeing a lot of lovely comments coming in. Annie, are you still there? And your camera
Never
off.
go anywhere. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's welcome our friends.
Yes, please.
Queen Leah, how you doing? I think Queen Leah had a show today, but I think it's
No,
tomorrow.
it's tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yes, Wealthy Wednesday.
Yeah.
So Queen Leah, it's wonderful to hear your generously kind words for our Lisa. Well, that's always like that, right? It's me that takes a beating around here. It's all right. It's fine. can take it. I say, Queen Paulette, yeah, that's you. Well, Queen Paulette, they are amazing at edification. See, now Queen Lee, you do it so well as well. I don't know what my excuse is. I think of me and I think of what I'm going to say, and I forget everything else. And then when it comes to handing it over with, you know, glorifying my co-hosts, I'm like, Mike, tell them what you're going to tell them. Live with it, right? Dr. Tanya, welcome. Thanks for your
Hi.
kind words. I know Dr. Tanya has her next seminar coming up.
Yes,
You know, her
yes, yes.
wellness, the wellness experience, right? That's coming up sometime soon, and in the next few months. Shola, my favorite author, oh, apart from Paulette,
Yes.
yes, Paulette, her book Ice. I can explain just to embarrass a bit more. So you have to read it to know how to read what it's about. So
Yeah.
it's a great book. I've got a copy right on my table, and I have read the book, by the way. Dr. Leslie, we see you. It's been a while. So glad you're
Yes.
here, though.
And she
Thank
made a
you for
lovely
joining us.
comment that I am waiting for you to get to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working my way up, Lisa.
Yeah, I know, I
I'll get
know.
sometime today. We hope. So I see. So Professor Roxana is here. I haven't seen you yet, but you know, if Dr. Tanya says you're here, you must be here, right?
Yes.
The same goes for the amazing Christy D. Williams, our teamwork expert.
Yes.
You
Christine
never
is
met her?
excellent. Yeah.
You have to meet with her to find out what I mean by teamwork expert. She's that person,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Bianca, is that how you pronounce your name? Hopefully, I'm close.
Yes, yes. Hi, Avianca.
Welcome. Dr. Leslie says humor.
Yes, this is
Right.
Emma.
Humor is like music. You know, like music is a great equalizer. No, it really is. But I think like we were saying last time, Lisa, people struggle to put themselves in a funny mood. You know, in a mood to be joyous, in a mood to
Yes,
be frivolous with their, with their emotion and with their, what they say or do. Right.
yes.
Easier for men, if you ask me. I could be wrong. No, Carol, no, how is there a thing about women as they get older not having so much fun in life? Or are we just wrong?
Mm. Um, I would disagree. I guess it depends on the individual, but from what I see, women are sort of having that awakening when they reach a certain age, sort of maybe mid to late 40s into 50s, and they start to realize that some of the things that they thought were so important were actually not that important, and having fun, going out, being out there, enjoying yourself is actually more important. So I think when I look around at women in their 50s now in particular, I'm thinking, look how young we are in comparison to the previous generation. Because, 50 used to be old. It's not anymore.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. You know, I'm not old at all. No, look, I have to work. I have to work on Chris. I'm just saying, magic number you mentioned.
Yes.
So, Crystal, how are you, Crystal? You know,
Yes,
we
haven't
missed
seen you in a
you.
while. Yes.
Yeah, and it's been a very a long while.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the comments that you also were looking for, Lisa. Might
No,
just be on
that
your
was
LinkedIn number.
that the one about music and humor.
Okay, cool. Right, and
Yeah.
know, kind words. I appreciate all of them. Keep saying them. I shan't dwell on them. You know, fully every word I say deserved. Right. What does it? What does Leah say? What does Leah say? Thank you for the invite, Lisa. I'm stopping by for a moment. We'll make it worth your while, Queen Leah. We'll make it worth your
Yes.
while. Anyway, I'm going back to my hiding hole now. Have my camera.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to that point you made, Carol, about being in midlife and women now are realizing that whether life is too short or the things they focused on isn't really that important and they should shift their mindset, shift their thinking to other things that are more important. So I just wanted you to expand on that, because for me, when I find women like that, it's usually because they have an answer to whatever their ailment is or condition is. They have the information, they've been given that awareness, so they're, it's like finding a piece. I'm having all these symptoms. I now know it's menopause, so I have a name for it. So I can accept what's going on. And yes, I will find solutions. I will, work different things. But just having a name for what's going on with me and understanding that brings so much more calm and so much more clarity that they're able to focus on other aspects of their lives and figure out, okay, what's the next step? Has that been your experience?
Well, I think it's like twofold. Like you said, menopause, I think, because we suffer so much or can suffer so much through perimenopause and menopause, it forces us to focus on ourselves because we have no other choice. And I think that is part of coming out sort of the other side, realizing that all of that stuff that I stopped focusing on because I had to focus on myself is not really that important. And if I do focus on myself, I end up feeling better. Now, for me, being in perimenopause for 17 years, I spent 11 of those 17 not knowing I was in perimenopause. So for those 11 years, I was going from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, spending thousands of dollars for every specialist to say, no, can't find anything wrong. And that was torture, absolute torture. It was terrifying and it was torture because just, having someone that is supposed to be in the know and having so many specialists say, don't know, was just terrifying to me. I really thought I was dying some of the time. So when I actually did find out, totally accidentally, by the way, it wasn't an informed, I didn't get that information well. I was actually in my doctor's office crying my eyes out because I was just so frustrated about everything that was happening. And when he woke up, because he nodded off while I was speaking, he said, well, you're at the age for
No, wait,
menopause
hold on.
now.
Back that train up a little bit. What do you mean he fell asleep?
He fell asleep. I was ranting. I mean,
Um,
granted, I was ranting and raving. I was so
wow.
upset and angry and frustrated all at the same time. And I realized I didn't see him sleeping until, he had his hand on the desk and his face was on his chin and he went like this and sort of didn't know where he was for a moment. And that's when I realized
Oh
he
my
was
god.
sleeping. I went berserk.
Oh my
I
god.
will not repeat the pirate level
Yeah.
garbage that I threw at him for that. I was so angry.
Wow.
But then, as I said, he casually said, you are at the age of menopause now. But that's all I got.
Mm.
Nothing else. But when I went home and it came back to me, that whole, when I'd calmed down and that whole doctor's visit came back to me and I started thinking about it logically, I said, menopause. And I realized I knew nothing about it. And I thought, could it be that? And I realized that I knew nothing beyond hot flashes. And so then I started to pick about online to see what I could find out because for me, research is my superpower. It is something I'm good at. So I said, okay, let me see what I can find. I mean, the information wasn't great because that was 2016, 2017. The information about wasn't great, but there was some, and it was enough for me to realize that I might be onto something. And then I spent the next 4 years just trying to learn as much as I could. But having that moment, that day when I realized that this is what I've been going through all those years, it was like a massive weight off of me. And again, that feeling, I can still feel it in my body. That feeling is what I want to give to other women. And again, that is the reason why I speak on menopause so that somebody else can get that moment as well. And because not knowing it would literally drive you insane. And
Yeah,
I don't want that for anybody.
yeah, I could certainly resonate with that, and I think that's what drew me to you as well. Because I started my journey in my 30s. I didn't start with hot flashes. Went to the doctors. everything is normal, maybe it's just stress, maybe it's just anxiety, here's another pill, here's another pill. But I started with a toothache that felt like I needed a root canal every time. And every
Oh wow.
time I went to the dentist, he would look at me like, why are you back? You know, we've done the x-rays, I've checked everything is okay. Maybe you just have very sensitive teeth. Have some Sensodyne. You know,
Oh
and
wow.
I had all these, I mean, God made me a little more special than usual, but I had all these symptoms that didn't relate directly to menopause, what we knew about menopause at that time. And I had to go back
Yeah.
and do my own research, just like you know, research is my superpower as well. And that's how I started to piece things together. And I think that's also, I mean, that's the reason why I'm so passionate about talking about it, because I also don't want women to have that experience. And I know that it really feels like someone took a concrete block off of your heart when you get those answers. And that's why we talk about it so much. That's why I encourage men and women to join the room, take the information, go back to your partners, because some women, they're not ready to hear that. They're not ready to hear they're in menopause,
Yes.
because saying you're in menopause means you're not a viable woman anymore. You can't have children, so then what, sort of like, what is the point, what is the purpose of you being on this earth? Right? So it can be very challenging to even just wrap your mind around being in menopause. Um, Paulette, what do you think about what that mental health aspect of
It's
getting
really
an
hard because,
answer?
yeah, it's really hard because I was about to sit like, and I stopped myself because of what you said. Don't sit like that. Because I might fall asleep. I don't want to fall asleep. What I was going to say is that I had PCOS and endometriosis, two things that people knew nothing about. And I had exactly the same
Yes.
thing with menopause, but with PCOS and endometriosis from the age of like 16, 17 years old. I was at a hysterectomy at 17. So I had bleeding like you can't imagine for like 20 days of a month. And they still would say, oh, we don't know what it is. They come up with 101. They used to say stress was a lot of it. And was I going under, because I was in the care system, so is it to do with that or is it to do with this? And it'd be like, there's something wrong in my stomach. Will you have a look, And eventually somebody went in. It was a gynecologist, a female gynecologist who listened, because I'd literally hemorrhaged in Tesco's, and she literally found me in the A&E and she said, come on, I'm going to admit you and we're going in tomorrow. And I was like, whoa, okay. And it happened. And she went, okay, you've got PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, and you've got endometriosis. Now, both of those have got very similar issues to the perimenopause, except that with that particular situation, I had it and couldn't get pregnant. So I had, not only did I have all the issues of having this illness or illnesses, but I also couldn't have a baby. And it was like we tried and tried. And in the end, we went with some specialist drugs they gave us. And I fell pregnant with twins. I had 14 miscarriages. So in the end, we were just quitting. We were giving up on it. And then the last time was our last time. We'd made that decision. This was it. This was our last chance. And we had twins. We were pregnant with twins. And then we lost one of the twins. And they said, we don't think you'll keep the other one either. And I said, whatever it takes. If I have to spend the whole next 4 months with my legs up in the air, I will do it. Literally, whatever it takes. Put them in stirrups, hang me from the ceiling, whatever it takes. Keep that baby in there. And the baby said, yeah, I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere. And he went, because he was he would have been a twin of identical. He had us ready for two. So he was doing gymnastics and, he was eating for two. He was having the best time ever. We always say now the reason he's 6'2" is because he was at an all-you-can-eat buffet for two, from the age of 0, and he stayed. He went breech, then he went extended breech. I mean, you name it, and he tried everything. And I got admitted in as an emergency case for an emergency cesarean, but she was always going to be a cesarean. But he broke his own water, kicking his feet so hard trying to get out because he got himself stuck that he broke his own waters and chose his own birthday. And to have a baby born at 34 and a half, 35 weeks, and he came out shouting and screaming and hollering and demanding milk. And they literally got these little dumb bottles of milk and shoved one in his face as soon as he was sort of cleaned up and whatever. And I've got a picture of a midwife just literally feeding him, just trying to shut him up because he would not stop screaming. Meanwhile, I've got all this low blood pressure and all these machines going off and God knows what else. And my husband said he didn't know if he was announcing the birth of his son, the death of his wife. It was that terrifying for him. But they got both of us through it. And within a year, I had a full hysterectomy. They took the lot away. They would have done it if I had at the time, but they couldn't because of the low blood pressure. So immediately that pushed me into, as you always say to me, menopause. The minute I had the hysterectomy, I went into menopause. And I have a prolactinema, which is a brain tumor, and it's on the pituitary gland, and it means that they will not and cannot give me HRT. So they can't give me any kind of synthetic hormones. So I was on my own through this. And I had so much, the reason I come and it's late and everything else is I've got so much, I really do, because there was nothing for me to understand when this happened. I'm 62 next month. Well, yeah, next month. So, I mean, this was 40 years ago. And 40 years ago, 22 years ago, I was 40. And there wasn't information out there. I couldn't find, like I said, there wasn't the stuff there for you to even read up on, And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was having the flushes. I was having like, I didn't have it during pregnancy, but I wanted to eat the most bizarre things like, gherkins and nothing else, just a jar of gherkins. And like people were going, is she pregnant again? And Charles would be like, she's had a hysterectomy. She's not pregnant, but she likes gherkins. But nobody would say anything. They just said like weird behavior, tick, odd things she's doing, shouts a lot, tick, short-tempered, tick, I had all the bad stuff and no good stuff. There was nothing on the good side. It was all on the bad side. And when I listen to you talk about how to understand what's going on with our bodies and how to help yourself, it helped with the diet, for example. If somebody had sat me down and gone, don't eat a jar of gherkins, it really won't help. You'll just have horrible bad breath for a month, and probably spend a lot of time in the loo, right? But the point is, my body was craving gherkins, so you go for what your body craves. And I think that the reality is now that there's people like you two, the world's a better place. Because if I could have found someone like you that would have said, right, sit down, let's talk about it, let's understand what's going on, I would have been a far better parent, a far better wife, a far better manager and managing director than I would have been, because I was a miserable cow for a lot of probably the 5 years after the hysterectomy. I was a real miserable moo because I did not know what to do with all these hormones. The hormones were all over the place, and I was not in any shape to help resolve it, So I think that's the key, Lisa. Remember now, you can do so much. You know, this is why you're so amazing, because your voice, Auntie Carol's voice, it means so much to people. Would have been like me when I went looking and couldn't find anything. Back to you.
Yeah,
Please.
and that's why we have, like I said, this show every other Tuesday is not just about the education part. I want to share real stories so that people understand what women have to go through, sometimes in silence, suffering in silence because we have nowhere to turn, no information. Our doctors are dismissing us, our family isn't supporting us because they don't know how to support us. They don't know what's wrong. I'm happy that Crystal is here with us to share. I know she has a story to share with us. Hi,
Hi,
Crystal.
Crystal.
Hello, beautiful. Paulette, I want to say my mom went through something very similar to you before I was born. Um, Most of you know when I say my mom, she's actually biologically my grandmother. She adopted me when I was 9 months old. So when I refer to my mother, I mean my grandmother, just so you know. But she raised me, she loved me, she chose to be my mom. But she had such severe ovarian cysts that she had to have a hysterectomy. And it happened shortly before she adopted me. So here she is with a newborn, basically, well, I was 9 months old, trying to raise a baby at 40 with her hormones going everywhere. So my mom can really relate to your story. On topic of my mother, now I have a funny story. My mom and I have actually been reconnecting. Paulette, you and I have talked about how things were kind of hard. I found out why she kept dodging me coming to visit. It's because she didn't want me to get into a fight with my sister for treating her like crap. So she's actually coming to visit me for my birthday because she knew I would defend her. Well, the funny story is, now my mother, I love her and she's beautiful, she doesn't look a day over 60, is going to be 83 this July 24th. She went out to a club dancing and hooked up with a man younger than me. To me, that gives me hope. Okay?
I like it.
And like I said, she does not look a day over 60 and she's 83 years old. And I'm very proud to have her genes. She's my father's mother, and I'm very blessed to look a lot like her, And when she sent me a picture of her in her bathing suit from Hawaii, I sent her a message saying, "Wow, you look amazing. I hope I look that good at 82." And for any young ears, I apologize, but this is exactly how she told me to look as good as her. She said to me, and I exact quote, I can share the text thread. "Well, I have to work at it. I eat healthy, exercise works, and having great sex." My 83-year-old mother said this to me. Now tell me, does that give us ladies hope that after menopause life does go on? I mean, that's why I told Eddie it was a funny story, But why not? She's lived her life. Her husband passed away. Why not allow somebody to make her still feel young and beautiful? Why not go out and enjoy yourself? You're not dead. If you still feel the urges, enjoy it. And that's what I know, like a lot of friends of mine who have had hard times with like perimenopause and everything. They just don't want anybody to touch them, things like that. I'm telling this story because my mom was like that at one point. After the hysterectomy, don't touch me, I don't, nothing. There is hope that you can still be intimate with your partner and things like that afterward. That want can still be there. So that's kind of why I wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I know you always have these wonderful stories to share with us.
Some of them are a little off color, but think about it. For 83 years old,
It's like,
tell me, is that not a wonderful story? I mean, think about that. Okay, I will be honest with you. The man's age was 31 years old. And no, he wasn't after her for her money or anything. They had,
just connected.
yeah, they just connected.
Yeah.
You know, they had a good night. He treated her like a princess. And all I could think was, go mom, I thought I was doing good at 7 years younger than me. Hey, now will she ever see him again? Probably not. You know, but at 83, she's entitled to a one-night stand. She spent most of her life married. Why not? But the fact is she was able to do that. She was able to put herself out there and feel like a beautiful woman again, you know? After menopause and after everything that went wrong with her body, you know? The fact that she was able to go out there and feel sexy and put herself out there and try and succeed beyond expectation even. Because my mom has standards. She doesn't want no beer gut or big beard. My mom's got standards, okay? So it's just go her, you know?
Yeah.
And it gives me hope for when me and Matt are, you know, well, he's 7 years younger than me, so when I'm 83, he'll be, somebody do math, I don't want to. But you get what I'm saying, that we'll still want each other, you know? And still feel that urge and everything that everybody tells me once you hit menopause, you give up.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Crystal. I wish you have more information or just have a lovely story to give us.
Well, I do work a lot, but I am always team replay algorithm going on his YouTube channel. But for some reason, my LinkedIn isn't working right. The only reason I knew about this event was because Annie actually sent me an invite on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Because for some reason, my LinkedIn, like, I tried to join the LinkedIn Live and I couldn't. I messaged on YouTube. But I do get the notifications on YouTube, so even when I'm working, I try to at least be team replay so that the algorithm keeps pushing them through.
Yeah.
You know, and I do learn a lot. I make Matt listen to a lot of the ones when you're like referencing partners and stuff, because I'm not quite Perry, but I'm almost there. So I want him to know what's going to be happening so that he can be, I don't know if he could ever be a better partner than he already is, because he's always amazing and very supportive, as everybody knows. But the more knowledge about what's going on with your partner, the better. You know? So,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you all. Thank you for letting me share my funny story now. I have to get back to work in the 100-degree weather. It is hot. I took this as my break to stand right in front of the fan with the AC and not go clean the kitchen where it is like 120.
Okay, take care, my friend.
Take care. I love you. And Paulette, you look beautiful. So do you, Lisa. And nice to meet you, Carol, although I'm sure I have before. Love you. Bye, guys.
What do you think of that idea of life after menopause or having fun after menopause? I mean, we're in menopause until we die, just so we all know. There's no end to menopause. There may be a reduction in debilitating symptoms, but just that idea of you can have a life after menopause.
There is something about, just on that note. I mean, there are as many women I know who don't want it anymore and are very happy to move into the separate bedroom, still be happily married, still live a happy life, but live in separate bedrooms, and to say that we're still very happy, but I just don't want hot sticky body next to me anymore. And I've got a few friends like that who say it's just gone. You know, it's like someone's removed the sexy time hormone. And I've sort of said, well, could you go and see somebody? Do you want to go and get some tablets or get some hormones? And they're like, no, I'm quite happy never to do it again. And and that's a choice, isn't it, as well? And I
Yeah.
think that like that 80, is it 84, 83, 84? I mean, amazing. But there are also many women in their 50s and 60s who have gone, like, I'm out, I think it is a personal choice, and I think there comes a big conversation with your partner, because if your partner is still a rampant rabbit, they're going to have a few issues in the marriage, and I think that's
Yeah.
something that it's a difficult conversation to have, but it's a very honest conversation to have. And I don't know if you've done skits on that yet, but definitely, Carol, that's one that I think people will really like understand, that it's such a difficult question. How do you address it? How do you have the conversation where you say, I no longer want you to lie by the side of me. I'd rather you moved in the spare room. How do you have
Yeah.
that conversation? And I know that my foster mum and dad had it, and it was difficult for quite a while. But they're fine now. It's sorted. But it took a good about 5 or 6 years for him to sort of understand that there wasn't any coming back. There wasn't going to be any. It's Christmas, or it's my birthday. Am I not due a little treat? There's none of that going on. It was door closed, good night. It's an interesting one, and I think for an 80 whatever she was year old woman, fantastic. If you've got the urges and you've got the opportunities and that's what you want, then go for it. My ironing lady is 74, and she's on every dating site. I mean, she's like she's a swipe right, swipe left, swipe everything.
Oh boy.
She's game on, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that if that's what you want to do. When you get to that age, you can wear one yellow welly and one red welly, and who cares? So, do what you like, be who you are, that's what I think.
Yeah. Well, I know Carol gets a lot. Like, you get a lot of DMs from people as well. Um, do women talk to you about that? Do they ask questions about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think two of the biggest conversations that I have, well, three, but the most common conversations I have is how to get my partner to understand what I'm going through and to support me. And it's not necessarily always about sex. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But it's about getting them to understand and support in the whole, as a whole. I get that more often because so many women don't know how to have, like you said, Paulette, how to have that conversation because it's not an easy one. So I do have done videos. I haven't done any skits on it because I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that in an amusing way yet. But I have had conversations talking about ways to start that conversation, and it can't just be women tend to sort of go about it in a way that they just shout, I don't want nothing to do with you, just stay away from me. And obviously, that is not the best way to communicate anything to anybody. So I sort of sit them down and talk them through doing it in a calm way and in a way that your partner may receive it better. And it could take time, and it probably can't be done in one sitting. This is something that you have to keep revisiting over time, because it's too big of a topic to just say, well, we'll talk about it tonight and by tomorrow we'll be good. It's too important. And also the number of women that get divorced during menopause is astronomically high because oftentimes they don't figure out a way to communicate that, or even if they do, the partners are not hearing it. And as long as as soon as sex is gone, they're gone. And as it makes it really, really challenging. It's a problem, and it's something that I do talk about, have talked about quite a lot.
Yeah, and it's something we talked about a bit on our last show, where we were talking about narcissistic partners. And it's about having that conversation when both parties are ready to have that conversation. So not a, sort of attacking your partner as soon as they come through the door. They've had a hard day. They need their wind down time as well. Not doing it when you're very emotional or having those mood swings. Really agreeing on a time where you can give the message, but the person has to receive the message in the way you intended. And I think that's the part
Yes.
people forget, in the way you intended. Sometimes working with a third party, and this is where having a good coach comes in as well, because it's not just, as you said, about the intimacy part, the physical sex part. Intimacy goes back to how we communicate with each other, how we trust each other, how we want to spend the rest of our lives with each other. And maybe having two separate rooms will work for us. We have our intimate moment and then we go sleep in separate rooms. Maybe that is the thing that works for us. We could only get there if we are open and honest with each other, willing to have that conversation, and then when we try something, not blame each other if it doesn't work. Because one thing that will work for one partner may not be the solution for the other partner, and we have to be sort of open to that and willing to try different things. Annie, I know we have a few more people that have joined. I'm seeing comments coming in.
With a bottle of gherkin in your hand. That's not good. We're not talking. You got gherkin in your hand, right?
No, no. No, it
We
wouldn't
just not
say.
for that. Not talking to you. Miss Pepperoni, you found your way.
Hi,
Yes.
yes.
When my restream decides to find you, there you are. How you doing, Miss Noni? Long time. It was when
Yes,
you were
it's
in
been a
London.
while, yeah.
In London, the last time I saw you, really. So no. So Coach Harry says, Carol, getting genuine support is super important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What does that look like? Is a question, I suppose. Bill, you found your way too. Yes, I was watching the replay of Lisa on Bill's show yesterday. Made me laugh. But Bill always asks serious questions.
Yes, it was a
So
really good show. A really good show. Yeah.
yeah. He always wants to know. He wants to know the fine details, and he asks questions that most people won't ask. But it's a good thing. There is a replay of the show in case anyone wants to go and watch it. Right?
Yeah.
Um. Yes, Bill. 83-year-old with 31-year-old. He just sounds. That's elder
Yeah.
abuse. That's
Oh
elder
my
abuse.
God.
Don't do
Oh my goodness.
They
it.
were
Don't
they
do
were both
it.
willing partners,
I'm
and
just
that's the
saying.
important thing.
I'm just
Next
saying.
comment. Next comment. Moving on.
Christopher, great to see you. Glad
Hi,
you're here.
welcome.
Thank you for joining us. Right. That's me for now. I can't see any more, Lisa, unless you can see more on your WhatsApp.
Yeah. So I want to go back to Coach Carrie's comment. She talks about getting genuine support.
Hmm.
So I know Carolee talked about getting DMs from people asking questions. Maybe they saw a video and it sparked something. So what sort of support do you give to them? I know you also have a book. So share with us what does that support look like when people see a video and send you a DM about it?
Um, the support that I give
Yeah,
to
yeah.
them, you mean? Right. Well, yes, there is my book. I have written a book. It was published last year. It's called Are You There, God? It's Me in Menopause. And it is a book that I am really proud of because it was written for in a way that menopausal women can read it and absorb it in a better way. It's not a book that you have to read from front to back. You can actually go in and say if you're struggling with hot flashes, you can go in and just read about hot flashes and put the book away. Because if you're anything like me, I was an avid reader my whole life, and now I struggle to focus long enough to read a whole book. It's a real struggle for me. So to not have to to have a book where you don't have to read it from front to back, unless you want to, of course, makes it so much better for you to absorb the information, because it's written in bite-sized pieces and lots of different, covering lots of different symptoms. So whatever you're dealing with, you can go and get practical tips about that thing, and then come away and perhaps, try to put it into your life. And if at some point it's something else, you can go back to the book. It's something a reference that can stay with you for many, many years. I also do one-on-one mentoring. Well, I will be doing one-on-one mentoring coming soon, hopefully by the middle of July, because I get asked quite often if people can sit down with me and talk them through. Sometimes it's about how to approach their doctors, sometimes it's about how to approach their family members or bosses at work, sometimes it's about their partners. So they wanted to, I guess they trust me enough to give them direction in a way that is practical, because my content is like that. I try to make it as practical as possible, because we all get told it's this, it's that, it's the third, but then we don't get told what to do about it. And I used to find that frustrating when I was in my journey. Eventually I would find out what it is, but not what to do about it. So I offer that as well, so that women can go away from me with practical ways to manage this journey, to manage their partner's work, family, whatever it may be.
Lisa, one
And
of the things, just sorry to interrupt 1 second, but one of the things just sparked something in my mind was, I think I've told the story before, but my sister-in-law went on to estriol gel, which you rub into your leg, and it really has helped her in her perimenopause journey. And she was going through hell, and she was ratty, and she was difficult at home, to be honest. And the kids, like my nephew and nieces, would say, "Mum, do you think it's time to get some more of the gel?" Or they'd run upstairs and come back downstairs, and they'd be like, "Here's the gel, Mum." And like it became a joke, and it was a running joke. And if it's something that you can use, feel free. But it was one of those really funny things that became, like, she would be like genuinely peed off because the kitchen's not been tidied, and she's shouting and ranting about that quite justifiably, and they're running upstairs to get her the gel because they think it's all to do with the menopause. And she's having to sort of say, "Now let me explain. This is a dirty kitchen that you shouldn't have left in this state. You've been at home all day, all three of you. And the menopause is something completely different, or perimenopause." And I think the key here is that, as much as humor is important, sometimes, and I'll say this and put my neck on the line, sometimes I think, oh, being ratty, being this, being that, it's not an excuse. No one is saying that menopause or perimenopause is an excuse to be an absolute moo. If you are going through hell, it's likely that it will react. You will have different reactions. Your hormones are all over the place. Your mind is absolutely shot. No question about it. You'll go into a room and you'll be standing there for 10 minutes going, "I know I came in here for something." No clue, right? I've got fibromyalgia. It's exactly the same thing. I go to the filing cupboard to get a word. I get the one either side. I want posterity. I get prosperity. It'll be, and you're like, it means something completely different. Why have I typed that? I think that people don't understand until it comes out like an A to Z of all symptoms. And when you say 100, it's 100 plus now, they say, don't they? They actually say 100 plus symptoms. And people think that being ratty and going off sex and wanting to be away from the hot, sweaty person because you're just lying there dripping, you don't want to be next to somebody, are there only three, And it's not just going off sex, it's not just being ratty, and it isn't just being hot and sweaty. and not wanting to have another body next to you. And that is the key for me, Lisa, that the more you scream and shout from the rooftops, you know, that people will actually take it on board and listen.
I mean, I have had so many conversations in the supermarket about vaginal dryness. It's shocking. It seems to be something that women always want to come up to me and talk about. And, you know, I'll discuss anything, I don't care. But it's like you said, there's so many other things besides just hot flashes. I mean, how bad does vaginal dryness have to be for you to run up to a stranger and talk to them about it?
Yes, and to find support from a total stranger rather than your doctor, to me, that's the
Mm,
concerning part. That they feel
yeah.
more comfortable doing that. And this is where us as healthcare professionals, I think we need to take a long, hard look at what we're doing and why we got into the business, and you know, what does support really mean for the people we serve. Because you know, it's the same thing. I get a lot of questions, and I'm like, so why didn't you ask your doctor this? And they were afraid to, the person didn't have time. So the system also sets it up where if doctors have 10 minutes with you, they're lucky. You can't fit
Yeah.
everything into that session. So they come to me with all their questions. I'm like, okay, but I'm not a doctor. I can't, I know the answer, but I can't legally give it to you. You know, so it can be really challenging. But again, this is why so much of us talk about it, bring awareness to it, just to give women an answer to the things they're going through, some support for the things they're going through, especially when, as I say, women, this is the time where we have the highest divorce rates, the highest suicidal rates as well. So it's something we need women to understand that yes, it's the hormones, but we must also have, once we have that information, we can make more conscious decisions about what we're doing. And if we happen to explode about a dirty dish in the sink, where that is not our normal reaction, we could go back to our families and say, listen, yes, this dish shouldn't have been there, but my reaction was not what I would have done. So I apologize for that. You know, but you let them know in that calm way, have that conversation. So I'm happy when I get stories with the one Paulette gave where their children understood something about menopause. They knew, okay, the gel would help, but it's also that conversation you need to have, that you can't just do these things that you know will trigger me as well. You know the dishes is supposed to be put this place. You know, you have that conversation so they know, okay, I need to do X, Y, Z, otherwise I will get this reaction from my mom. You know,
Yeah.
so this is where that open conversation needs to happen. And I'm seeing Annie back on screen. Do you want to share with us, Annie? What has your
Well,
experience been like?
it's taking me how long? 2 years, 3 years to hear you say it's not inevitable. I tell you, I'll take it. I'll take it. It gives us hope. You know, yeah, I think I say that for one. You know, it's a good thing. So the second thing, the thing I really want to say, so there's a book in there somewhere, right? There's a 100 Symptoms of Menopause book. Someone's got to write it.
Okay,
I
I'm
think
going
you're.
to say I'm writing it.
There you
It's
go.
being done. It's being done.
Someone's got to publish it. That's me, Carol. I publish books, Carol.
Very good, very good. As I'm finished,
I'm
I'll be
just
coming to
saying.
you.
You know,
Yes.
I'm sure that'll be a great book, right? Really, and I think that would be really helpful. Right, I'm
Yeah, I
going back
think
to my good health.
the more we talk
I'm
about it,
gonna
the more
I'm
we
gonna
share
take
about
my
it.
leave, guys. I can feel I don't want to do falling asleep in the in,
Yeah, don't
yeah,
worry.
we've
We
had
have
Yeah,
this
about
yeah.
before, haven't
5 minutes
we?
again.
Yeah, we don't want to
Don't
have
do
Don't
that.
worry.
Are those your tiki-toki goods behind you, Paulette?
Can you see more? Yeah.
Yes, Paulette. That's a tiki-toki goods room, merchandise room.
Oh,
I
Awesome.
tell you.
Called my studio.
Oh well. I think I will add you and Carol to my list of famous people.
Famous,
That,
infamous,
yeah,
infamous.
not
Well, that's
famous.
what I always use
Oh,
is
famous,
infamous.
famous.
Famous, and the people know who you are. So I guess I want to do a few case studies for my book about people who are famous. It's talking about the reality. That moment when you suddenly thought, "Oh, I'm famous." Like, what does that mean, really? We'll talk, ladies. We'll talk.
Yes, please,
I've
please.
got Michelle and Linda Gray on my list already.
Okay,
So I think
okay.
you two
Yeah.
will make it. You
Well,
two
we
will
have
make it
about
perfect.
8 comments before we end, so I just wanted to ask
I can't
one
see any
last.
more. Is there any new
Sorry,
ones? I can't see.
it's not coming up on my feed, but you know how LinkedIn is with us.
Hmm.
So if you're okay, if you have a question or comment, please put it in the comment section.
Oh, right,
Um,
I'm going to say good
so
night then. Love you lots. Bye.
yes,
Lovely
have a
talking
good
to you.
night,
Right,
Paula.
Paula.
Definitely. We'll
Thank you
catch
very
up.
much.
And I'll see you soon, Mr. Annie. Behave.
Thank
Yes.
you. Bye. I'm going to turn the camera off and keep quiet.
Okay. Yeah, but I know it's
I'm just
almost
going to say
midnight where you are, so.
gherkins and go.
Oh my
I'm
Bye.
God.
going.
Okay, bye.
Good
Bye,
night.
please.
Good
Bye.
night. Good night.
Take care.
Yeah.
So, Carol, I just wanted to ask, well, two things. So when the show ends, please put any sort of contact information, your Instagram handle, on the LinkedIn page so people can follow you,
Okay.
right? Don't put it on this chat because we'll lose
And
it.
a link to your book as well, please.
Yes, a link to your book. That was the
Yes.
second thing. Please put it on the LinkedIn comments of this event so that people
Okay.
So, what's one thing you want people to take away from just understanding about menopause? Where should they start? Anything like that?
Just one thing that Annie said, that it's not, menopause is inevitable, but suffering is not. You do not have to suffer through this journey, because there is so much that we can do, not just medically, but in our own just lifestyles,
Yeah.
that can help us to reduce these symptoms. So please do not let anybody talk you into believing that it's the end. Your value has dropped, your use has dropped. There's nothing that you can do. You're going to be a miserable harpy for the rest of your days.
Yeah.
That is not, absolutely not the case. And I want you to know that there is support and there's help and there's information. You do not have to suffer.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. That's a good reminder. So, for anyone listening on the live show, the replay, it's something I always say, there's always support. I think LinkedIn is special. We have a coach for anything you can think of. But if you're struggling through perimenopause and menopause, reach out. Because as Carol said, all women will go through menopause. Whether you admit it or not, all of us will go through menopause. We don't have to suffer through it. And I think that's the key. So please reach out, or if you have a partner that is suffering, please reach out. Let's have a conversation. Thank you so much, Auntie Carol, for being here. If you are not following Auntie Carol, I don't know what's wrong with you. You need to.
I know what you're doing with your
You
life.
don't know. Yes, you don't know what you're missing, and I mean that seriously. You don't know what you're missing.
Your
So
Instagram to find her though.
yes,
On LinkedIn, she's a bit
Instagram.
shy on LinkedIn.
No,
But
no, she's now starting. She's now
we got her
starting.
here, so that's a start, right? It's a
Yeah,
start.
it's a start. So please
Thank you
follow
so much.
her, and um, you all have a great evening, a great week, and join us next 2 weeks for another conversation about menopause.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. We're
Thank
here.
you, Auntie Carol. I'll find you. So when I'll find you. Don't take it. I'm not there, so I'll try and find you on Instagram. I'm sure.
Instagram or
Uh, I'm,
Facebook?
I'm not used
Facebook
to
as well.
anyone. I just sit there. I don't do anything with it.
Yeah, she's on Facebook as
So
well, so
Get
that's good.
over it, sir. Get over it. Get over it.
I told you, just ignore him. Just
I
ignore him.
don't know. I don't know.
Get over
It's
it.
He's
an
not a
illness
social
I have.
media person. Just accept it and move on.
Yeah, just let it go.
let it be.
All right, all right. At least I've seen you on LinkedIn, so I'm all right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, you take care, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Every step forward is a new beat to your drama. She's success with Global.Media.com. And celebrate it with or without champagne or rum. She's success with Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. And celebrate it with or without